My name is Madhurum. I'm going to be heading to UC Berkeley in the fall. I plan to double major in psychology and computational cognitive science, and I'm going to be taking a pre-law track. It's a little unconventional of a track, but yeah. I applied to, I think, like 29, 30 schools, a lot of schools last year. And some of the top universities that I think I got into were Northeastern, UIUC, UW in Seattle, UMich, UCSB, UCI, and UCSD, obviously, and Berkeley. I think the college app process for me seemed a lot more daunting going into it than it really was. Like, I went into it, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, this is gonna be so stressful. I'm gonna hate this so much because everyone talks about it like it's a scary thing, but I think with Success Coach, it wasn't that scary for me. I actually kind of enjoyed some parts of it, and I was able to really learn a lot about myself through the process. And so yeah, I think some strategies that worked for me and really helped in my admissions process were really zeroing in onto things that I was passionate about during high school. And so most of those things either made sense for my career path or played into somewhat of a central theme in my life. I had a lot of activities that had to do with community service, a lot of like creative activities. And those played into like a central story that I had going on. So I think really having a good balance of academic, creative, and kind of community-based extracurriculars can really help in your application, and also obviously showing really strong commitment to activities and kind of climbing up the ranks in doing so can help during high school. My impactful extracurriculars were Model United Nations, the Gender Sexuality Alliance in my school, and dance. I would say those are my three main ones. In Model UN, I had been doing Model UN a little bit before high school, so I had somewhat of a background on it, but I really started committing to the extracurricular during high school. During my freshman year, it was all online, but I like went to every meeting. I really kind of just showed up there, and I think that the officers noticed that, and so I got an officer position my second year. And after that, I think I just tried my best to go above and beyond in every position that I had, and I was able to climb up the ranks to president my senior year. And I think that did make a huge difference on my apps. I was able to make a large impact on my club, grow it from like 8 to 100 people, and take the club to conferences all over the nation. And so, yeah, that was a pretty big deal. In GSA, I tried to also broaden my impact as much as possible. I worked with the district office on teacher training, and I was able to like establish a gender-neutral bathroom at my school. And so I would just say in both those extracurriculars, kind of widening my impact and thinking out of the box really made a difference, because I was able to show metrics for what I did and how I kind of changed my community in doing so. My third extracurricular was dance. That was a lot more creative. I was on a competitive hip hop team, and I was able to go to a bunch of competitions all over the nation. I also was a part of 2 dance clubs at my school, and I think that I was able to show my creative side through that. Really, honestly, all I can say is you miss all the shots that you don't take. Like with dance, I never thought that I would be going to competitions, flying out. I actually started doing hip hop 2 years before I joined that dance team, and so I did not have a large background, but I tried out for the team, I made it, and I was able to really like gain experiences that I don't think I could have gained anywhere else. And so yeah, I think my biggest advice, honestly, in high school overall is just like try out for as much as you can. You never know what you're gonna like, and you never know like what opportunities you're gonna get. So yeah, just like do everything you're able to do, especially in your freshman and sophomore year, so that you can have a good understanding of what you want to do, and also just like gain accolades. For the college app process, I learned a lot from the application process, but a lot of that aren't like a lot of the things that I learned through the process aren't things that are really quantitative. Like I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how to communicate effectively. I learned a lot about how to like networking with other people, like looking into different resources. I think for specifically recommendations, recommendation letters, I would recommend to like ask as soon as possible. I think something that I didn't do is I didn't look into how many recommendations specific schools needed. Like for UMich, they have 4 recommendations, and I didn't know that until literally like 2 weeks before the app was due. And so I was struggling. I was running around, and the week before I got a recommendation from one of my teachers, and I had to write it myself that week. And he submitted the day of the application, like the day the application was due. And so yeah, definitely look into that as soon as possible. And I think that also like that mishap on my part had to do with not really researching my schools as much as I needed to. And so that's definitely something that I would do differently if I had to do the college app process over again. I would have had a lot more of a peaceful senior year if I was able to start those essays earlier. And I think I also applied to a lot of schools that I couldn't see myself going to. And it's because I didn't really sit down and think about what I wanted from the college process. And I honestly think I kind of like I didn't apply to schools that I really like the community in because I didn't understand that community. And so I would say like really try to like look inside and think about what you want out of college and like the people you'd like to surround yourself with, stuff like that when you're thinking about what colleges to apply to. I think if there's a school that you really, really like and you really think that like you would love to go there, if it's one school, like you might as well apply to it, you know? I think that kind of applies to everything in your high school career. During the college app process, I did have a few struggles. It wasn't that bad. I think I really enjoyed the process actually, but going into my Common App essay, because I already started late, I was super stressed. And so I was like, oh my God, like I'm not gonna get this essay done. And I was rushing to find a concept for my essay. And I wrote the whole essay, I think like 3 times, and I hated it. I was like, this does not feel right. This is so bad. Like, I hate this essay. It doesn't, like, this is not even me. It just didn't feel right. And so, and I kind of didn't want to communicate that to my mentor because I felt like I was already starting too late. And I was like, this is so much work on my mentor as well, you know, to look over all of these drafts of my essay this late into the summer. But the best thing that I did for my application was, I would say, communicating with my mentor. Like, I think because I didn't like that essay, I completely rewrote it. But the only reason I was able to do that is because I was like, hey, I don't feel this essay. And my mentor was like, obviously, like, don't write an essay that you don't like, you know? So yeah, genuinely, like, I think communication, especially with Success Coach, the team is like out there to help you, right? The team is out there to make you submit something that you're really proud of. And so definitely like commit entirely to the brainstorm process, and like you should never think an idea is like too stupid or too silly. If you find something interesting or if you think a concept could be cool, it's very likely that an admissions counselor would also think that and kind of applaud you for your creativity. So definitely commit to that process and make sure that you are comfortable with what you're writing about. Make sure that you think it accurately represents everything you've put into high school, everything you've put into the past 17, 18 years of your life. I think the biggest thing for kind of combating that lack of motivation is to give yourself breaks and be organized from the start. A lot of people were like, oh, every morning I'll wake up at 6 a.m., write my college apps. I had nothing, like no sort of organization. I think that was really bad for me. If like I could give myself 1 day of break in a week, and if I set aside an hour every day to write my college apps, I would have been done a lot earlier than I was. And so that organization is super important. You should be able to say like, I'm allowed to go on vacation, but you should also be able to say that means I have to like commit to this, writing these essays for the 3 weeks before that, you know? The last piece of advice I have is to not try to write like anyone else. A lot of the times, the way that you write really represents your personality. And the thing that was most comfortable for me, even though it seemed a little bit informal, it seemed a little bit like it wasn't appropriate for college apps, I think the thing that helped me a lot was being able to write in the way that I usually do, like write in the way that I do for all my school essays, and kind of be able to express my personality in terms of my writing style, because they don't want to read the same essay like 100 times. They're not trying to read your essay if it sounds like it's ChatGPT, you know? Like you want to write an essay that really, really depicts yourself truly, right? And in doing that, you have to be able to show your personality in every aspect of that essay, and a large aspect of that is writing style. Okay, I went into the whole process really, really hesitant to share anything like remotely vulnerable about myself, because I think, especially because I joined Success Coach that year, I had no history with any of the mentors. I had never met Anu before, and I think I was really scared of like showing too much of my personality, or like her thinking I was weird, her thinking that like I was really scared to have a bad impression, you know? But a lot of my personality comes from like the vulnerable parts of my life, right? So I think um, she did a really good job of making me open up. She really like she talked me through the types of ideas that I could have. And I think this is a common process for all of the mentors, but she gave me like different types of essays that I could write, and was really kind of receptive to any type of ideas that I had, which helps me kind of think deeper. A lot of it was introspection. I didn't come up with the actual like Common App idea that I used until maybe the fourth or fifth week of brainstorming. And I think that's just because like she has to break through every single one of my walls. Like it was like 1 week at a time. She was like chipping away. And I think that if I came into it with more of an open mind, and I didn't come into it like, oh, this is gonna be so bad, this is gonna be a chore, I would have been more receptive to her questions maybe, and been able to share more about my life, so I could have reached the conclusion that I eventually did reach sooner. I think I personally was too scared to commit earlier on, and it might be a good idea for you to just sit down with your mentor and tell them like, hey, this is scary. Like I'm not feeling super comfortable with this. And if you guys are able to talk through that, it'll be easier for you guys to really like commit to that process and come up with stronger ideas earlier on. Like try your best to open up, try your best to interact with them, kind of like share your ideas openly. Don't like be too, I would say, reserved in a sense. Kind of like make sure you're also giving it your all, because they can't help you if you're not trying to help yourself.